Did Tiny Harris just lose control in front of the world? Cameras were rolling, reporters were screaming, and within seconds, Atlanta's courtroom erupted into chaos. The same Tiny who once ruled red carpets and dominated reality TV was suddenly being restrained by security, shouting words no one expected to hear. "You ruined me. You think I don't know what you did?" Her voice echoed off the marble walls, sending a ripple of shock through everyone present. Witnesses say she lunged toward Shock and his family, tears mingling with fury, while lawyers scrambled desperately to prevent a full-blown disaster. But here's the thing, this wasn't random rage. Seconds before the meltdown, Tiny's lawyer received an anonymous message that threatened to expose what could be the biggest setup in celebrity history. Was this a moment of emotional breakdown, or was it the instant the truth finally pierced the web of lies? Stay tuned, because what happened next inside that courtroom shocked every fan, every reporter, and anyone who thought they truly knew Tiny Harris. The tension outside the courthouse had been building since the early hours of dawn. Reporters camped out for hours, cameras ready, microphones poised, each journalist hoping to capture the next explosive headline. The air was thick with perfume, sweat, and whispered rumors, a sensory overload for anyone inside. Every time the massive wooden doors creaked open, hundreds of phones lifted into the air like a swarm of digital vultures, each one determined to document the unfolding story. When Tiny finally entered, dressed in a fitted gray suit and sunglasses hiding her swollen eyes, silence fell. Not a silence born of respect, but of anticipation, of fear. Everyone could feel that something was about to erupt. For weeks, the world had been glued to every twist of this trial. Leaked tapes, fake confessions, conspiracy theories, and deep fakes. It was a puzzle no one could fully solve, and Tiny Harris had become the focal point of a storm that seemed far bigger than herself. Her fans saw her as a victim, a woman betrayed by the people she trusted. Her critics painted her as a manipulator, finally ensnared in her own web. The courtroom itself had been tense long before Tiny walked in. The judge had already laid down strict rules. No interruptions, no emotional outbursts, no theatrics. Yet deep down, everyone knew those rules would be broken. The moment Shock and his family walked in, the atmosphere shifted palpably. Tiny's mother, dressed in all white, walked confidently to the witness stand, her expression a mix of sorrow and triumph. Cameras clicked rapidly as she raised her hand to swear in. Tiny didn't move, but her knuckles turned white as she gripped the edge of the table. The prosecutor began cautiously, almost kindly, asking Tiny's mother if she had ever witnessed manipulation or deceit during her time with Tiny. The answer came slowly, measured, and with devastating impact. Yes, I did. Tiny's jaw tightened as her lawyer leaned in to whisper something she didn't hear. For a moment, she was transported back to her living room, laughing with friends, drinking wine, talking about men and music, about loyalty. That laughter now echoed in her memory like a ghost, a haunting reminder of what had once been. And then the words fell, sharp and deliberate. The woman on the stand continued. She lied to everyone, and when people started to find out, she blamed it on us. The courtroom erupted in a storm of shouts, gasps, and camera flashes. The judge slammed the gavel in a desperate attempt to restore order, but it was already too late. Tiny's eyes blazed with fury, her chest rising and falling as she fought to contain the storm building inside her. "Objection," her lawyer shouted, but the courtroom had already absorbed the truth in her expression. Speculation and hearsay were sustained, the judge declared, but the jury had already seen the pain etched across Tiny's face. Then, as if fate itself had paused the world for her, Tiny's confiscated phone vibrated. Her lawyer picked it up before she could see the message. His brow furrowed as he read a new, unknown text. "They're about to expose the drive. Don't let her speak." He froze. Tiny noticed the sudden color drain from his face. "What?" she whispered. He shook his head, muttering, "Nothing. Stay calm." But Tiny knew she had seen enough. Her pulse raced, every muscle tensed. Every sound, voices, whispers, camera clicks, blurred into static. The phrase repeated in her mind, "Don't let her speak." The prosecutor smiled faintly, as if he already knew something Tiny did not. "Mrs. Anderson, Can you tell the court what Tiny threatened to do if you spoke out?" The woman hesitated, locking eyes on Tiny. "She told me she'd ruin us," she said. Tiny's chair scraped loudly against the marble floor. Every head turned to her. "That's a lie," she shouted, standing abruptly, papers scattering like feathers across the courtroom floor. "You ruined me. You think I don't know what you did? You and your daughter set me up. You sent those tapes. You wanted me gone." Security rushed to restrain her, but she continued, shaking, voice rising above the chaos. Reporters jumped to their feet, cameras flashing. The judge shouted for silence, but the words were drowned out by the raw power of Tiny's fury. For a split second, it looked as though she might charge forward. "They're lying! They're all lying!" she screamed. Two bailiffs grabbed her arms, holding her in place. Mascara streaked down her face, eyes wide with a mixture of fury and fear. The image would be everywhere within the hour, on magazines, websites, and social media feeds across the globe. Outside the courthouse, chaos erupted. Fans chanted her name, others hurled insults. Hashtags exploded across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Hashtag Tiny Meltdown, hashtag Courtroom Chaos, hashtag Cheeky Nah Speaks. Clips of her shouting were slowed down, edited, and twisted into endless variations of the same 3-second moment. Inside, her lawyer clutched the phone, staring at the message he couldn't explain. The message, from an anonymous sender, simply read, "They're about to expose the drive." He looked toward Shaq and his family, avoiding eye contact, realizing that the courtroom drama wasn't just an accident, it was a carefully orchestrated trap. Tiny didn't speak again as she was escorted down the hall, her breathing heavy, but her eyes calm, sharp, and calculating. Somewhere deep inside, beneath the humiliation and rage, a cold, certain promise began to form. The ride back from the courthouse felt surreal. Flashing blue lights outside blurred into streaks through tinted windows, and the pounding of reporters on the van's exterior echoed in her skull. Tiny sat in silence, wrists red from the cuffs, replaying every detail of what had just transpired. Her lawyer, Michael, sat across from her, scrolling through messages on his phone, jaw locked. "It's everywhere," he muttered. "They're saying you attacked someone, that you went off the rails." Tiny didn't respond. She stared out the window at a city moving past like a movie she didn't recognize. "They already uploaded the video, haven't they?" she asked quietly. Within minutes, Michael confirmed. It was trending, viral, unavoidable. Tiny laughed bitterly, a hollow, sharp sound. "They always wanted a show. Guess I gave them one." When they reached the safe house, Michael led her inside, avoiding the cameras. The place was empty, except for a couch, a table, and a stack of case files. Tiny dropped her bag and sank onto the couch, the silence thick, heavy, almost suffocating. "Who sent that message?" she asked. "I don't know," Michael admitted. "It came from an encrypted source, no name, no trace, but someone in that courtroom knew it would reach me, and they wanted you silent." Tiny rubbed her temples. "They're scared," she murmured. "That means we're close." Michael frowned. "Close to what?" "Another scandal," she replied coldly. "They have witnesses, audio files, fake confessions, and now this outburst. They're painting me as unstable, but they can paint whatever they want. I know what I saw." She opened the flash drive. Audio files, phone calls, voicemails, private recordings, evidence of betrayal from people she once trusted. Among the files were voices she recognized instantly. One male, one female, plotting behind her back. Once she's gone, the label is ours. She won't know what hit her. The woman laughed. "I told you she's predictable. She thinks she's the queen." Tiny closed her eyes. She knew those voices, had heard them countless times in meetings, interviews, even her own home. Michael's face went pale. "This is enough to destroy them," he whispered. Tiny's hand trembled, but she held her ground. "We won't take this to court. We'll take it to the public, the same way they did me." Before he could respond, her phone buzzed again. "You're not supposed to have that file." Tiny's blood ran cold. "They know," she whispered. "They're watching everything." Michael shut down the laptop immediately. "We go dark. No Wi-Fi, no calls, move locations. Tiny nodded. Her jaw tightened. They wanted her silenced. But they forgot one thing. She wasn't done talking. However, long before the doors opened, the courthouse was a frenzy. Reporters had been camped outside since sunrise, their cameras poised and batteries charged, desperate for a snippet of the drama that had already captivated the city. The air was thick with perfume, anticipation, and the faint tang of tension. Every step, every creak of the wooden doors sent a flurry of phones snapping photos, recording video, and sending tweets into the ether. When Tiny finally appeared, clad in a tailored gray suit and hiding swollen eyes behind dark sunglasses, the silence in the room wasn't a mark of respect. It was the electric hush that comes just before a storm breaks. The trial had been building for weeks, a twisted mix of leaked tapes, alleged confessions, and deepfake theories that left even seasoned reporters questioning what was real. Her supporters called her a victim of a calculated smear campaign. Her detractors said she had finally been caught in a trap of her own making. And though the judge warned the courtroom against theatrics and emotional outbursts, everyone knew the rules were only symbolic. The tension was palpable, and Tiny's every step seemed to echo off the walls, foreshadowing the chaos to come. The atmosphere shifted dramatically when Shekinah's family entered the courtroom. Her mother, draped in an immaculate white ensemble, carried an air of solemnity mixed with quiet triumph. Cameras fired off flashes like gunfire as she approached the witness stand, hand raised to swear an oath that would change the trajectory of the trial. Every movement was scrutinized, every glance magnified, and Tiny's hands gripped the table until her knuckles turned white. When the prosecutor began questioning, asking whether Mrs. Anderson had ever witnessed manipulation or deceit from Tiny over the last 15 years, the pause that followed was deafening. Then, in a voice soft yet charged with venom, the witness responded, "Yes, I did." Tiny's jaw tightened. Memories of private conversations, laughter, shared secrets, and wine-filled nights came flooding back, each one now twisted by betrayal. The courtroom trembled as Mrs. Anderson continued. She lied to everyone, and when people discovered the truth, she blamed us. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. The judge slammed his gavel, trying to restore order, but it was too late. Tiny's pain and shock had already become public. Amid the tension, Tiny's confiscated phone buzzed once, a quiet but potent signal of the storm to come. Her lawyer snatched it up before she could reach, eyes widening as he read a message from an anonymous source. "They're about to expose the drive. Don't let her speak." Tiny's stomach twisted. Her pulse raced. Every noise around her faded into white noise as the courtroom, the murmurs, the flashing cameras all disappeared from her awareness. Her mind replayed the words over and over. Don't let her speak. The realization hit hard. Someone was terrified of her story. Someone was desperate to control her voice. And in that instant, the calm veneer of the trial shattered completely. The world would soon see a side of Tiny Harris no one had ever expected. Furious, vulnerable, and utterly unstoppable. When the prosecutor asked Mrs. Anderson to recount what Tiny allegedly threatened if she spoke out, the witness's words were like a spark in a dry forest. She'd ruin us. Tiny leapt from her chair, her voice slicing through the courtroom. "That's a lie! You ruined me! You think I don't know what you did?" Papers scattered, camera flashes blinded, and reporters shouted over one another as the courtroom erupted into chaos. Security rushed to restrain her, but Tiny's fury and grief surged through every word, every gesture, every sharp glance aimed at those she felt had betrayed her. She pointed at the witness stand, screaming, "They all are lying, every single one of them." The bailiff's arms wrapped around her, but even restrained, her presence dominated the room. It was raw, unfiltered emotion, a meltdown that would become the image of the trial for years to come. Outside, fans chanted her name, some in support, others in disbelief, while hashtags like Tiny Meltdown and Courtroom Chaos exploded across social media, fueling endless debate. The ride from the courthouse felt unreal. Police lights streaked past the tinted windows, the roar of reporters pounding on the van echoing in her ears. Tiny sat in silence, wrists red from the cuffs, replaying the courtroom scene over and over in her mind. Her lawyer Michael scrolled through his phone, muttering, "It's everywhere. They're saying you attacked someone, that you lost it." Tiny only stared out the window. Within minutes, the video clips were viral. Every news channel replayed her shouting. Every social media feed dissected every word and expression. She let out a hollow laugh. They wanted a show, guess I gave them one. Arriving at the safe house, she collapsed on the couch. The room was dim, quiet, almost oppressively so, with only the soft hum of an old air conditioner and the stack of case files on the table for company. She finally asked Michael the question that had been lingering in her mind. Who sent that message? His answer was frustratingly vague. Encrypted source, no name, no trace. Tiny rubbed her temples. Then they're scared, which means we're close, she said, voice low and certain. Michael exhaled, running his hand over his face. Close to what? Another PR disaster? Another fake scandal?
Tiny's eyes were icy. No, close to the truth. And that truth isn't just hidden, it's been weaponized. They've been pulling strings, using people, manipulating everyone. That message wasn't random. And Shekinah's mother, she's just the face they put forward. Michael hesitated. You think she's still involved? Tiny shook her head slowly. No, she's being used, same as I was for so long. Later that night, Tiny and Michael turned their attention to the flash drive that contained the evidence no one else had. Audio files, voicemails, private recordings, and even hidden video, all laying bare the conspiracy that had tried to destroy her career. Tiny clicked on one audio file, and two familiar voices filled the room, one male, one female. Once she's gone, the label is ours. She won't know what hit her, the man said. The woman laughed. I told you, she's predictable. She thinks she's the queen. Tiny froze. She knew those voices. Every word confirmed the betrayal. Then came the video files, grainy footage from a hidden camera showing two figures in a dimly lit office. One was unmistakably Shekinah, the other a tall man in a dark coat. Tiny leaned closer. Pause it, she whispered. Michael froze the frame. The man turned toward the camera. That's Marcus, Tiny said slowly, recognition and fury mixed in her voice. Her former manager, the man she had fired years ago after he tried selling stories about her to the press, had returned in the shadows of this new plot. Before they could fully process what they had uncovered, a loud crash shook the safe house. The front door splintered as two black SUVs screeched to a halt outside. Michael grabbed the laptop and stuffed it into a bag. Heavy footsteps approached. Shadows moved across the windows. Tiny's heart raced, but she didn't flinch. Send the files, she commanded. Michael blinked. To who? To everyone. They leaked lies about me. Let's see how they handle the truth, she said, her voice steady. The upload began. Notifications flooded Michael's phone. By the time masked intruders stormed the room demanding the drive, the files were already live across the internet. The men froze. The files, every recording, every betrayal, every hidden conversation were now out in the open. Within minutes, the world knew the truth. The masked men slipped into the storm, disappearing as quickly as they appeared. Tiny stood in the center of the room, trembling, yet smiling for the first time in weeks. They wanted a scandal. Now they've got one. But the story didn't end there. Her phone buzzed again. A new message. You really think it's over? That was only part one. Tiny's smile vanished. Lightning flashed outside, reflecting off the city that had watched her unravel and now re-emerge stronger than ever. The war had not ended, it had only evolved. And this time, the enemy wasn't hiding, it was watching. The files were spreading like wildfire, exposing betrayal, manipulation, and lies. Social media exploded. Some screamed, #Justice for Tiny. Others demanded she be silenced. Talk shows dissected every frame, every word, every nuance. By the next morning, Atlanta was already in chaos. Fans, media, helicopters, blogs, talk shows, all eyes were on Tiny Harris. And yet she was nowhere to be found. Hidden in an abandoned recording studio on the outskirts of the city, she prepared her next move. This is where it had started, and this is where she would start again. Michael warned her of the power and reach of the people behind the scheme, but Tiny was resolute. They already tried to bury me. Now we bury them. She uploaded the files online. Every lie, every plot, every scheme, now visible to the world. Within minutes, the masked men who had come to steal the drive realized they were too late. The files were already public. Tiny had flipped the script. The storm they wanted, now it belonged to her. Tiny Harris had become more than a headline. She had become a force. The files spread across the internet like wildfire, exposing betrayal, manipulation, and lies. Social media exploded. Some screamed, #Justice for Tiny. Others demanded she be silenced. Talk shows dissected every frame, every word, every nuance. By the next morning, Atlanta was already in chaos. Fans, media, helicopters, blogs, talk shows, all eyes were on Tiny Harris, and yet she was nowhere to be found. Hidden in an abandoned recording studio on the outskirts of the city, she prepared her next move. This is where it had started, and this is where she would start again. Michael warned her of the power and reach of the people behind the scheme, but Tiny was resolute. They already tried to bury me. Now we bury them. She uploaded the files online. Every lie, every plot, every scheme, now visible to the world. Within minutes, the masked men who had come to steal the drive realized they were too late. The files were already public. Tiny had flipped the script. The storm they wanted, now it belonged to her. Tiny Harris had become more than a headline. She had become a force. The files spread across the internet like wildfire, exposing betrayal, manipulation, and lies. Social media exploded. Some screamed, #Justice for Tiny. Others demanded she be silenced. Talk shows dissected every frame, every word, every nuance. By the next morning, Atlanta was already in chaos. Fans, media, helicopters, blogs, talk shows, all eyes were on Tiny Harris, and yet she was nowhere to be found. Hidden in an abandoned recording studio on the outskirts of the city, she prepared her next move. This is where it had started, and this is where she would start again. Michael warned her of the power and reach of the people behind the scheme, but Tiny was resolute. They already tried to bury me. Now we bury them. She uploaded the files online. Every lie, every plot, every scheme, now visible to the world. Within minutes, the masked men who had come to steal the drive realized they were too late. The files were already public. Tiny had flipped the script. The storm they wanted, now it belonged to her. So, what do you think? Was Tiny Harris a woman pushed too far, framed, betrayed, and silenced by the people she once called family? Or was this her plan all along, to flip the script and reclaim the spotlight no matter the cost? Drop your theories in the comments. If you're with her, type Free Tiny. If you think there's more to uncover, type Expose the Empire. And if you're ready for the next part of this unbelievable saga, hit like, share, and subscribe right now because the next leak is coming sooner than you think. In the world of fame and lies, truth isn't just revealed, it's weaponized. And when the next file drops, it won't just change Tiny's story, it will change everything.